Welcome to the DYNAMO Show. I am your host, James Erdt. I'm the Chief Architect of WOW for a company called DYNAMO Entrepreneur. We support social entrepreneurs, predominantly speakers, authors, internet marketers, and coaches in living well and doing good. We actually have a fantastic show here today. Without further ado, we're going to get started with two really dear friends of mine, Ashley Ann Pereira and Cassandra Angelicchio. How are you guys?
Amazing, amazing.
High five, girls. Good to see you.
So grateful to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming. You must officially be our youngest guest so far.
Yes.
Right? So you guys care to share your age to inspire some of the younger ones looking?
Turning 23.
23.
Yeah. I have a daughter that's 22, so this is wild, to see how quickly you guys are evolving, at such a young age, and how much of a following you guys are picking up so fast, which is awesome. We'll get into that. So let's talk a little bit about your story. Tell us a little bit about Dreams Inc.
So Dreams Inc. is a collaboration. Our mission is to collaborate with school boards and community centers, and really what we're doing is having interactive workshops to help young people dream big, believe in themselves, and achieve their dreams. Right now, we're most known for our YouTube channel. So we have over 100 videos, over 60 collaborations that we've done. It's incredible. And we have multiple series that we've done. So we have our Embrace Your Story series, our Tips for Teens series, and we also have our Dream, Believe, Achieve formula as
And you
well.
have the James Erdt video.
And we do have the James Erdt.
Yeah, I had the privilege of being interviewed by you guys, and that was fantastic. I was just honored to be chosen first off. You got so many people that you could pick that are so much bigger and better and doing such wonderful things, and you chose Humble Me, so thank you.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure for us.
Yeah. So, what's next for Dreams Inc.? What are you guys doing on the YouTube channel? What are you hoping to achieve?
So what we're hoping to achieve is we really want to bring self-development to young people.
Yeah.
We feel like that's something that's missing. We want to help young people start building their self-confidence from a younger age. Start that at an early age and allow them to begin really incorporating their dreams into their lives, just as we are as well.
We both did some international experiences and volunteering abroad, and we've realized that this is an international issue that needs to be solved and needs to be addressed, getting the self-development into people all over the world and incorporating that, because in this world that we live in, there's so many talented young people, and they just need that extra kick of motivation and self-confidence to incorporate those dreams into their life.
I love it. And self-development as a whole is on the rise. Just, human evolution and human performance, not only on a physical level by the, the body and mind, but also on a spiritual level. The world is waking up, and one of the things we can attribute to the success of that and the quick success of that is the internet. And I look at you two as internet sensations. People that are at your age, you guys are born with these smartphones. You guys are raised raised with these smartphones and tablets and laptops, etc. I remember when I got started in computers, you know, back in the late 80s, you know, it was like this slow, you know, 4 megabyte, you know, machine, you know, it was just a slug. But now it's so fast, you know, and the internet is such a great way to really get that message out. So if you guys were to say, you know, you had a message or a purpose, what would that message and purpose be for why you're doing what you're doing?
Well, the reason that we kind of got into it, to tell you a little bit about our story, when I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. All I knew is that I loved helping people and I loved psychology. So I ended up going to Brock University to study psychology. And while I was in school, it changed from 8 years to 12. And I was like, I don't know if this is the right path for me. I think there's something more. So I did some international experiences. I did an exchange, lived in the Netherlands for 4 months, which completely changed my life. Volunteered in Africa. And then came the time when I got back from all my international experiences and it was like, now what? What am I gonna do with my life? And that was the time that I met Ashley and just, we clicked. And
in Africa?
No, right after. Right after. And it was like, I had this idea, I believe in her. Graduation happened, and there was 1,000 people in the room getting ready to cross the stage. And everybody was like, now what? Now what? And I realized, hey, I'm not the only one that's lacking direction here. And that's why we got connected with what we're doing. We talked about it. We went to We Day.
Cool stuff.
Free the children. Love it.
Love it too.
And that atmosphere in that room is life-changing.
I bet.
There's so many kids in there, and you could see that they were getting so inspired by people speaking to them and getting involved in volunteering and wanting to incorporate their dreams into their life. And we got back, and ever since then, Dreams Inc. came to be.
I predict it. I see you guys on that stage one day.
It's on.
I see it. I know it's on one of your vision boards, you know. Tell the truth.
It definitely is.
That's awesome.
And it was the same, like, for me as well. Even when I was in college, I had that moment, and I was like, all I knew was just, I wanted to help people. I wanted to help kids and teenagers, and I was like, but I have no idea. How am I going to do this? And just pretty much a year into being in college, I started personal development, and I really started to take my goals and like life seriously. And then it was last year when my grandmother had passed away, and that's when I realized how short life was, because it happened in such a quick moment. And I was like, you know, that's it. And we just went full force committed to what we're doing, and that's why we're just so passionate, because we've been there and we know we can relate, so we can help as much as we can. We can just help them through this.
I love it. How are you going to help teens find themselves?
Through our interactive workshops, of course. It's so humbling and amazing. We've done a few workshops thus far, many more to come.
Tell us about the formula.
So the formula, essentially, what we're doing is we have the Dream, Believe, Achieve formula. And I don't even know I'm lost for words.
Yeah, Dream, Believe, Achieve. Essentially, the essence and the motto behind Dreams Inc. is to dream big. That's all about goal setting, reaching for the stars. Self-confidence is believing in themselves, giving them that push to go get those dreams. And achieving their dreams, they need more tools to maintain these goal setting, staying in that positive mindset. And that's the essence behind everything we do, ultimately incorporating all of that and all of their dreams into their life.
Now, I know on your YouTube channel you have a bunch of different shows, but the one that I like is the Embrace Your Story series, okay? Why is it so popular compared to some of the other ones?
It's so popular because the guests that we get, just like yourself that was there, they have amazing stories, and they're often about topics that not too many people are talking about, like mental health, depression, anxiety, self-harm, emotional eating. And we have such a safe and secure space, and amazing guests just like you that came onto the show. And it gives these young people an ability, no matter where they are, having this tool as YouTube is an amazing tool that they can watch the video, they can be inspired, and not only can they be inspired, but they can hear the tips and the ways that they overcame the obstacle, and decide, you know what, I want to be just like them and aspire to be like them and have them change their lives.
You know what would be cool is like a YouTube kind of like a how to create a YouTube channel for young people. I think that would be a bestseller if you
There
guys
you go.
wrote a book on it or something like that.
There you go.
You know, let's talk really quickly about the 3 tips that you would give for kids that need to focus. You know, ADHD type kids like myself, squirrel. You know, that just don't have that focus because there's so much overstimulation going on. Just quickly in 30 seconds.
I know one for sure is what has helped me with focus is finding it. I think what it comes down to is passion. When you find something that you're passionate about, your focus when you're working on whatever it is that you're passionate about is just straight on, and nothing else exists in that moment when you're in that space that you're doing what you love. Nothing else matters. So that for me is just find what you're passionate about.
You know, it's funny, whenever I use the word passion in any of my posts, I get about 3 to 4 times more than I would anywhere else with any other words. And I've actually done studies with the word passion. It's powerful. People really resonate with that. So on a final note, how do we find you? Maybe share with our audience. How do they connect with you?
Absolutely. So we are on YouTube, of course. So it's Dreams Inc. Also, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Dreams Inc. 15. And then we also have our own personal accounts as well, so you can always find us as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Ashley, Cassandra, thank you so much for coming on the show. I wish you guys all the best. I'm here to support you however I can.
Thank you so much.
We are on the DYNAMO Show. I am James Erdt. Stay tuned. We are going to bring Tracey-Acadia Thomas to the show right after this. Welcome back to the DYNAMO Show. I am your host, James Erdt, the Chief Architect of WOW for DYNAMO Entrepreneur. What a lovely show we're having. We have 2 more fantastic guests. We have Tracey-Acadia and Allister Thomas. Thank you so much for coming to the show, guys. You know, it's so awesome to have you. You guys are doing such big things in the community. Before we get into Soulful Image Magazine, okay, and some of the stuff that you're doing around that project, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you guys. You know, where did it start? What inspired you to kind of get into this business? And maybe some of the things you maybe overcame, some challenges.
Oh, wow. There's so much that's, you know, inspired us. We actually started with a t-shirt business.
Oh, wow.
For Real Custom Tees.
Is that one of them?
So this is, yeah.
Real Custom Tees now? Yeah.
So that's kind of where our journey began. The 2 of us were doing a lot of events in the city, just, you know, showcasing a lot of his work.
Okay.
So he was
We started off as a brand.
A brand.
Yes.
Right? We started off as a brand. I do graphic design, I do illustration.
Yep.
So for a long time I had my artwork on t-shirts. And just like what Trey said, we were going around to Irie Fest, we were going to Queen's Park, CNE, just selling our t-shirts.
All over.
All
Well, like
over,
a
right?
booth kind of thing? And
Yeah,
having
we had the
t-shirts
setup
there?
and everything,
Yeah,
very
right on.
grassroots,
Yeah.
right?
Cool.
And we were doing that for quite some time, since around 08,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And it was really cool taking the boy, our son, around,
Oh,
making him
nice.
get to see the city,
Yeah.
making him learn a little bit about how.
So instead of a lemonade stand, he had a t-shirt stand to work out of.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Technically, he had a
awesome.
t-shirt stand, but mostly he just took that time to run around and do nothing and
Yes.
Nice.
goof off and play. But
Yeah.
whatever, he's a kid.
That's true.
Can't expect
Yeah.
that much from a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
But since then, we decided to expand. Tracey decided to expand her
Yep.
her horizons.
Yeah, big time.
Yes.
Big time.
So for a long time, you know, I was helping him with For Real doing his thing.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where I wanted something of my own.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I kind of put that out there and just
Yeah.
asked God, you know, I want something that I could put my heart and soul and energy
Your
into.
passions. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was literally after our last son was born.
Yeah.
The very next day, I was in the hospital room with my laptop,
Yeah.
and I created a website for my ministry.
The very next day.
The very
You
next
were
day.
inspired.
Very
Like
next
the
Divinely
baby
inspired.
just came
Yes.
out. Like just came
No
out.
wasting
The
any
drugs didn't
time.
even wear off
No.
yet.
Ah.
No, yeah. So it was, I had a lot of things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
Mixed with these emotions of joy, I mean, that's got to
Yes.
be one of the happiest times of your life in the operating room when you're having a baby,
Yes.
just inspired, divinely inspired. And then came out Soulful Image magazine.
so it was like
Yeah,
two births.
you gave birth to two things at the same
Ah,
time.
very nice. So tell us about the magazine.
So Soulful Image magazine is a publication that we do really to encourage and inspire people of all walks of life.
Okay.
So it came about in such a way that I really didn't expect.
Yeah.
So years ago, the two of us, we were unmarried for a long time.
Okay.
And we had gotten to a point in our relationship and we actually had broken up.
Oh, no.
It was a really difficult time.
The story gets better.
Huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Well, you're here together on the Dynamo Show.
at,
Yeah.
at that point, we kind of went our separate ways for a little bit.
Yeah.
And he had no idea, but my son and I ended up in a shelter, actually.
Ah, boy.
Yeah,
Wow.
we ended up in a shelter.
Thanks for sharing, by the way.
Yeah, it was rough. It was one of the lowest points in my life, I would say. And I would say the relationship we had at that time was very strained. I was very angry. I was very upset, and it got to a point where I was just seeing the other women and what they were going through.
Ah, yeah.
It made me really appreciate my life,
Ah, yeah.
because these
Nice observation.
women were, they were having a lot of challenge with their spouses, verbal, physical abuse, and I mean, I never experienced that with him. So it made me reevaluate my life.
Everybody's got a
you know?
story, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all go through things, and for whatever reason, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, the source that gives us these things,
Yes.
And when we actually have the ability to look at them as gifts, because now you're here sharing this, you
Yes.
made it through, you're obviously together, you're obviously happy. You guys are like a ray of light. I can't think of Tracy alone. I can't think of Allister alone. It's
That's
the
right.
two of you guys together, and that's how I met you two, right? So kudos to you
Yes.
for making it work. So, with even the word passion, like this is something that it's such an important word. You guys are both such passionate individuals about your own projects. And then is there any form of merging the two? Is there anything going on where you guys are actually merging the two projects together?
Oh,
'Cause
definitely.
they're both creative.
Definitely. I would say mainly because of his artistic skills, because I'm very artistic as well, and
Yeah.
he really pushes me, and he helps me to grow even in my craft.
Yeah.
So I look at the magazine. It is a community tool,
Yes.
but it's also something that I use, that we use for charity.
Okay.
Right. So
So you're giving back through that
we
vehicle.
are giving back through that.
Yeah. Care to share on that?
Well, there's a lot of events that go on a lot of times, and if we're not donating T-shirts or using the magazine for events and things like that, definitely we're always involved and trying to be involved in community stuff.
So how does somebody
So-
get a T-shirt? How does somebody get a magazine?
Okay, well, to get a T-shirt, they can contact us forreal.com. That's our website, or on Facebook, For Real Custom Tees.
REAL?
FAREAL.
REAL, the real deal.
The real deal, baby. Yeah, for real.
Yes, and with Soulful Image magazine, it currently is in the Faith Culture Live bookstore, Gospel Cafe, and of course it's online. So anyone can get it at soulfulimage.com.
That's
soulfulimage
awesome.
mag
That's
dot com.
awesome. And if
Yes.
somebody wants to actually advertise, I'm sure they can do that in the magazine, or if they want to get a custom tee. You guys do
That's right.
custom tees too?
We do custom T-shirts. We
Yeah.
do embroidery. We do screen printed T-shirts.
Yeah.
Right. If it's gonna end up on a T-shirt, we can make it happen.
How much for
That's right.
50,000 to fill the Sky Dome? I want to outfit a kid in a T-shirt and.
Well, that's a
maybe
very interesting question, James. That question just came up like 4 times this morning. You know, 50,000 T-shirts.
50,000. Are you doing them yourself? Are you screening them, or you guys
Well,
got a little production line
Oh
going?
yeah, me and
sweatshop
the
with
children,
the kids.
the children who I enslaved.
That's
right?
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool.
Yes.
So, like, on a final note, I just have to thank you guys for coming in. You know, I'm such a fan of your work. I'm a fan of the two of you. You know, you guys are doing wonderful things. I'm here to support you however I can. So, you know, just
Awesome.
reach out and let me know if there's anything I can do with our network, you know. Just attracting wonderful people and shining our light.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
There we have it. We had our second guest. We're going to come back with our third, and this is going to be very exciting. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Dynamo Show. I am your host, James Erdt, the Chief Architect of WOW, of Dynamo Entrepreneur. This is a very special moment for me, and I must thank you for our audience, to our listeners, to the people who are viewing us around the world and predominantly in our own community. I have to say thank you. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for sending in all that wonderful feedback to Rogers to allow us to expand this network into another series of 12 more shows. But instead of bi-weekly, we are now going weekly, which is very, very exciting. And thanks to you and your feedback, that made it possible. This moment is very special because it's also our very last guest. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce him, Khalid Mahmoud Atta.
Hey James, thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. Thank you. This is a special moment, you know. It's one of those moments where you're like, I did it, you know.
Yes,
It's
yes,
something that you
absolutely.
dream of, you know. When I was younger, I always thought, you know what, I would love to be a TV show host, watching all these other talk show hosts doing what they do. And here I am on my last episode, my last guest on my very first season. So thank you for
Sure.
being that guest. But
Now-
enough about me.
Now, actually, I want to thank you and I must commend you for what you're doing because
Thank
it takes
you.
a lot of effort, it takes a lot of work, and you've
you
done
know it.
you've done fabulously well,
Thank
and
you.
I must congratulate you
Thank
for
you.
your success.
Thank you, thank you, thank
Yes.
you. You know what? And it's great to have, you know, someone such as yourself on the show as the last guest, because you are also a TV show host and you also have your own show, and you know how difficult it actually is to create something like this and to make sure everybody's on time and to really overcome those challenges and the adversity and those big aha moments where all of a sudden you don't have a guest and you got to come
Yes.
up with a solution or something. So I thank you for that.
Yes.
Now, let's talk a little bit about Khalid before we talk about the TV show host side of things, okay? I want to get back to your youth. Let's talk about some vulnerable stuff, some things that maybe shaped you in your earlier years.
Yeah, actually, I was always the studious kind
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
But what happened was that I was always motivated to do some stuff that all these geeks wouldn't do. Like, for example, go out and play badminton,
Yeah.
go out and play cricket
Yeah.
back in the day. And that actually gave me more exposure to my school days
Okay.
rather than just being with the books. I actually wanted to do something outside the box also, although I was a good student.
Yeah.
But that's primarily because of my parents.
Yeah.
They worked really hard on me.
Yeah.
But you know, this extra mile, this extra thing that I wanted to explore, that really kept me going, and that differentiated me from everybody else. And what that created was that students started to, I started doing very well in sports actually, and students started to, those studious types started to, you know, feel a little uncomfortable with me because I was doing both and doing very well in both.
That's cool.
And you know, that kept me going, and that's been the feature of my life. You know, I've been into arts. I'm
Yeah.
a writer.
Yeah.
I've written poetry book,
Very
a book on poetry.
multi-talented, I know
and
that.
also I've done very, very technical stuff also. Like I was working for Hewlett Packard as a corporate instructor for
Okay.
them. You know,
That's a different world, you know,
It's
the corporate life, you know, and now
That's
being
right.
an entrepreneur.
That's right.
How would you compare like the two in a general sense, you know, corporate working for somebody else versus entrepreneur? What would you
Sure.
say?
Well, I think that eventually the celebration of what you're doing is more when you're an entrepreneur.
100%.
If you put something together and you accomplish it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the celebration that you have within yourself for completion is much more.
More rewarding.
More rewarding. And if you
Plus
work
you're lining your own pockets.
Exactly, and if you're working for someone else, no matter if you're even a CEO of a company, you are still the board to report to. You still basically that creative element of your own thing is not there. There's other people involved, and you have to report to someone, right? So, but being an entrepreneur, you're your own boss. you make your own balance sheet, and you can drive yourself as much as you want, right? There's no limits.
And it's up to you to balance it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, tell us a little bit about your book.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in 2014, I was back home in Pakistan. I was working for a Canadian company. I was pushing their technology products in the GCC, the Middle East, and Pakistan. And while I was in Pakistan, I met with a publishing house, which is the biggest publishing house of the country. And I showed them my work, that it was all on paper, and they really loved it. And they wanted to publish it, and I got it published. And I think that was a big accomplishment. It made me feel complete as well. And we did a big launch in Pakistan, and we did a big launch in Canada, and they both were very successful. And the top people who were the top writers were there. So it was a complete sense of accomplishment for me, and I really cherish that moment. And it has opened a lot of doors for me. That book has taken me places, you know.
It's like a business card,
absolutely,
you know? And it's amazing when you give a book, not everybody's going to read it.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like a lot of these weight loss books. You buy the book, you put it on your shelf, and you think you're going to lose the weight or whatever just because you bought it. You know, it takes that action. You know, I'm a huge nonfiction enthusiast. You know, I've got my bookshelf is lined. How many of them I've actually gotten through right to the end, I must admit, is maybe 25–30%, you know, to go back and read them all.
Of course.
You know, so I mean, how do you keep a reader engaged, you know, in your writing? Because I know you're a fantastic writer. How do you actually keep those readers engaged?
Well, my writing is mostly poetry. I've done some non-poetic work as well, but mostly my writing is poetry. So if you are in that typical group of people that enjoys a certain type of ghazal music and poetry, you would enjoy it. Now I'm working on it to be translated into English as well. But you cannot do justice when you do the translation, right? So you know, I have found that people have come up to me and said that your work inspires us, especially those who are already accomplished writers. When they tell you that, you know, my work.
What a great feeling.
Inspires
someone
them.
Who knows and has a trained eye.
Exactly.
Right.
So you know, it's a great sense of accomplishment as well.
Now I know you're also a budding screenwriter. You know, and you got a new project coming out. Maybe share a little bit about that.
Yes, so I mean, we're working on you know, a theatrical production, and we're working on this is again my concept, and I'm pitching it to a couple of production houses.
I love the idea, by the way.
And it's basically it's about mix of the culture, and we're talking about.
Do you care to share about that? You know, I remember when you shared with me a little bit about it. Is it top secret, or,
no,
can we share it with our audience? You know.
Well, I cannot give you the exact details, but I can share definitely the concept.
Share with their audience.
So basically, what it is basically we have 4 characters in our show, and when we talk about multiculturalism, even in Canada, we talk about pockets. We talk about an Indian town. We talk about an Italian town. We talk about Greek town. We don't talk about intermingling all of them together. Like that's a very unique concept. And the people try to stick to their own little groups. But what I've done is I've created a character-based of drama where you actually characters integrate with the other group of people. And so, for example, romance. For example, a Jewish guy falling in love with a Muslim Pakistani girl. Like, you know, that's one of the characters. So it's unique. Nobody has thought about it, and everybody who I've shown my concept to, they really love the idea.
I know they arrive in the airport. You were saying, share this.
So basically the opening of the drama is like in a Dubai International Airport. There's an Indian young guy who meets with a Pakistani, and there's a culture clash there, right there. It's a Hindu guy versus a Muslim. And we're taught back home that Indians are not good, and Indians are taught Pakistanis are not good. So there's a little culture clash, and they come across an Arab guy at the airport who is another, you know, it's another basically sarcasm kind of thing. And we these 2 characters dodge this guy and get into Canada, and it's like a funny sarcastic script. So I'm hoping that people will enjoy it when it comes into the market.
I love it. It'll be interesting in Canada to watch it versus some other countries, because we're so much more tolerant, and we can actually laugh at ourselves because we are this. We are Canadians, and being a Canadian means multicultural to begin with. The diversity and the tolerance and the all-inclusiveness. So I commend you for this work, because some places you'll be ridiculed. You know, and you're planting your flag, and you're saying, hey, I am Canadian, and I am about multiculturalism. That's awesome, you know,
Yes,
so
and
I commend you on that.
Yes.
Now, we're going to go to a short commercial break, but when we come back, I would love to talk a little bit about TV.
Sure.
Okay? And it's interesting because now with the increase of how everything's moving towards the internet versus broadcast television, which our show is on here, you know, we'll talk a little bit about that. So,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 12 of the Dynamo Show. So without further ado, we're going to go to a short commercial break, but stay tuned because we're going to wrap up with Khalid Mahmoud Atta. Welcome back to the Dynamo Show. I am your host, James Erdt. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Not only this episode, but the other 12 episodes that we did, this episode plus 11 more, have been absolutely fantastic. We've had such amazing guests, 36 guest spots in total, which was absolutely incredible, and I'm so honored and so thankful and so grateful for each and every one of them to come here and share their wisdom, share their stories of overcoming pain, and just the mountains that they've climbed to create these wonderful projects. Now, one of the projects that we're going to talk about right now is TV. Okay, you got TV that's on broadcast television, and you got TV that's rising on the internet. Now, I know Khalid, he has an internet show as well. Sure. Let's talk a little bit about your TV show right now.
Yeah, so basically my TV show is called Toronto Buzz.
Yes.
And it's on TAG TV, and we are not limited to, but we're mostly on the internet,
yeah.
A voice over IP channel. It increased its viewership now, and my show has gained a little bit of popularity as well.
I love your show. I was on your show. Woohoo!
So James, you were on my show.
Thank you so much.
And that has increased the popularity.
What a great show.
Yeah.
You know, with our good friend, our comedian friend, the YouTube sensation.
That's right. So Vakar was there on your show, on the show that you were on as well. But that's the evolution of television right now. I think the small device called cell phone has really completely changed the dynamics of all kinds of media.
Yeah.
I used to do radio as well, and I know radio has evolved. It's come a long way, and everything is coming online, and television is the same thing. So eventually, we've seen that the viewership of these big networks is actually coming down towards, and they're trying to open up channels which is more online with the online stuff. So
do you see broadcast television eventually dying? You see it declining? You know, what's going to happen?
I think
is broadcast going to have a revival, or where are we going with this?
See, I think that the basic need for certain media, for example, radio, when you're driving and in rush hour, you need to plug your radio on for news and weather, and especially. So there are certain things that you have to have. For example, television. I don't foresee a house without a television anytime soon. Although all this media is on the phone, but a television is a must for a house. When there's a television, people will always watch it.
However, it could be smart TV.
Yeah, it could be
Netflix.
Exactly.
It could be Show Me.
Sure, absolutely.
You know, these different types of networks.
They're IP based, but the actual box itself, I think, would remain for a little bit. And how we program it or how we send information onto it is a totally different subject, right? So television will stay, but the channels would change to online mostly, and I think that will bring a lot of talent on the forefront as well, because these big channels only bring in people who are accomplished or who are there for a long time.
Yeah.
But this internet revolution has basically brought people who are basically on their own kind of thing, and they're doing some amazing stuff online as well. So
it's interesting because I've kind of started through broadcast television.
Yeah.
I'm such a fan of internet television simply because the reach. You know, right now I'm in Mississauga, Brampton, Caledon, and Malton. So it's a neighborhood of about 5 million people reach, of which, you know, who knows who's watching the show, maybe 1 or 2% hopefully, you know. However, with internet, you know, you have the entire world.
Sure.
The entire world can log on anywhere, anytime, any place, on any device.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's so cool. Now, I think the best solution would kind of be a merger of the two, maybe having like your broadcast, but also having it available to the internet.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm encountering now is they want to play it first on broadcast before you actually put it on the internet, and then expand it in that direction.
Sure.
Do you see yourself going eventually from the internet to broadcast, or are you planning on staying on the internet?
Well, I was in broadcast before as well, and I think that internet is the future. I would like to stay where I am, and especially because it gives me the flexibility to program my own programming. So, you know, the being a director for myself is like more exciting to me than working for a big production house and stuff like that. So develop my own brand kind of thing, that would be more important as an entrepreneur as well for me.
Now I know you've worked for a bunch of different brands, you know, as a marketer, you know, and you're a professional marketer. Care to share a little bit about the brands and the marketing experience that you have?
Yeah, so I used to work for, my background has been advertising, and I've been marketing. So I've been, with an engineering degree, I've been marketing products from the IT engineering area, as well as, because I was always involved in writing and art, to marketing products like Revlon. I used to work for an ad agency which would do work for Revlon as well as Pepsi. So
big companies.
you know, so those are
Big
some
brands.
of big brands.
Yeah.
I've been a marketing engineer for Hewlett Packard. So we would pitch HP machines versus IBM. So I've done that, like go into the boardrooms and pitch stuff like that. So you know, it comes natural to me. I think I can present anything to anyone at any point.
How about presenting maybe to our broader audience, you know, a little bit about branding? Let's say an entrepreneur, predominantly entrepreneurs are watching this show, you know, and they're looking to get into business, whether they're speakers, authors, internet marketers, coaches, or whatever they're doing in the expert space. They need a brand. They need a logo. Any tips for them?
I think follow James and the DYNAMO brand. He's done a fabulous job. And if you want, you know, somebody to follow, I think this is the guy. He is the man, and he's developed himself. He's developed his brand, and that's how you should do it, especially as an entrepreneur.
Thank you.
You know, I mean, monies will always follow. Like, you know, as long as, I think the success of any entrepreneur is to come this far. I think you have been a success now. This is a success story we're looking.
Progressive success.
We're looking at a success story, in which is James, and I
that's really, really kind of you. I wasn't expecting that.
Being the last show, I think these should be the most important words as well, that this show should continue on, and what James is doing should continue on. But he's created a legacy already. I see all these people who come and get attached to him, all these children that he's worked for, and for very little reward, you know. It's not about you always. The way he's branded himself is that he is for everyone and everyone is for him. So I think James should be commended, the DYNAMO brand should be commended, and how you do this is beyond me. Like this is something that we need to,
like you, it comes naturally, you know.
Bring you back
on to thank guests like you. Without guests like you, there would be no DYNAMO show.
Yes, that's
correct?
true. That's true. But the effort is yours, and it's you should be given hats off. If I had a hat, I would take it off.
Thank you. You know, you did mention something that's very close and dear to my heart.
Sure.
And I have to thank my mom. Okay, my mom passed about 3 years ago. Yes. You know, she's here with me right now, and I'm actually opening up a foundation in her name, James Erdt Foundation.
Awesome.
And it's to support children, all children of all walks of life, all over the planet, to give them the tools and the skills that they need. You know, you give a person a fish, he eats for a day. You know, you teach a person to fish, he can eat for a lifetime.
Yeah, sure.
However, when you teach the teachers how to teach the teachers and be the messenger for the messengers, you solve world hunger.
Yeah.
We work together, we can come an empowered force for good.
Sure.
And we're doing that now. We're building a community here. You know, I have the DYNAMO tribe. There's a lot of different tribes across Toronto that are all forming. Imagine if we all work together in this beautiful vortex of energy that's evolving, not only in the physical plane, but also in the spiritual, you know, higher consciousness plane that's happening right now.
Sure.
I commend you and I thank you. I mean, like I said, I'm blown away. I'm at a loss for words, which is like very rare. You know, it wasn't scripted for you to say this, so thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is the real James that I know. This stuff that he just said comes naturally to him, and I think that is the value that he brings to this channel. That is the value that he brings to the network, and that is the value we should all support and bring him forward as well.
I love it. I love it. Now, on a final note, if you were to share a little bit about, you know, something that people that are watching this show that may be interested in getting into internet or broadcast television, where do they start? Very quickly.
Well, it's fairly easy to set your own network up. It's not that difficult. You need a space to record your recordings, like a talk show like this one. So it's better to partner or work as a volunteer at a smaller channel somewhere, and then you go from there. You build your own. It's very cheap. It's not very expensive to build, and hopefully down the road you can do your own. I mean, it's not that difficult.
Khalid Mahmoud Atta in the house. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks,
I
James.
appreciate it. Thank you
You
again
are
for
the
those
best.
lovely, kind words of recognition. And I want to recognize you, the viewer, for actually staying tuned and really listening and hearing and actually applying. It's one thing to listen and just hear everybody on the show and see kind of what they're doing and being inspired. But the law of attraction actually has the word action in it. Law of attraction, action. It's about taking action now, in this moment, because this is the only moment you will ever have. This was the Dynamo Show, episode 12, series 1. We're going to wrap it up right there, and we will see you on series 2.